Morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good afternoon.
Or good evening if you are in the UK. How are you guys? Lovely to have your company in here for a Monday. We're going to be starting on this episode of the Rise podcast in 3 minutes. So if you're coming in live, let us know in the comments that you're here and ready to rock and roll. If you're coming in on replay, please hashtag replay in the comments so that we know that you've been here, you've got the juice, and you're ready to rock and roll. I'm coming to you from a beautiful, beautiful San Diego, California. Let us know. I'm interested to the team coming in here live. Have you guys ever been to the west coast of the US? For me, I don't know, the west coast, the US wasn't like a massive thing that I really cared about too much. But as you get down to this kind of lower part of the West Coast, it is absolutely beautiful. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the East Coast of Australia, and it's stunning. So it's kind of weird that you're so close to the Mexican border here, but still just completely different culture. So guys, we're going to be starting in 2 minutes. We've got our regular team in here. I just want to say, Bernadette, I hope you had a beautiful weekend, and thanks for the lovely message that you've just sent the success team right on. This podcast, I think, is going to help. Hello, Nikki. Good morning, my friend. Congratulations on the running, Nikki. You're doing incredibly well, my man. Toddy, what's going on here? I think you're at about 16 days straight of Rise episodes, so well done. Lauren, good morning. How are you? I hope you had a great weekend. Guys, we're starting in 1 minute. Christine's in here getting that value. Happy Monday, Christine. Thanks so much. Kenny, my legend. What's going on? The Scottish couple here. Oh, you guys do everything together. It's so nice, Kenny. Well done. Hey, Kales, how are you, mate? Lovely to have your company. Maddie in here, you beautiful man. What's going on, buddy? Xanth is in here as well. Hello, Xanth. Girl, I just love the support that you give us all the time, Xanth. You're so awesome. JC Williams, mate, I hope you're feeling all right this morning. It looked like a pretty hectic crash that you had there, I think it was. Benny Robertson, what's happening, mate? We're starting in 15 seconds, guys. Hello, Claire. I don't even have a passport. Well, you should probably fix that, Claire, I reckon. Joe Marples, how are you, mate? I love the new blue hair too. You're looking beautiful. Tez is in here. Hello, Tez. How's it going, mate? We've got Jen in here as well. And if you do come in after this, guys, please do hashtag replay in the comments so that we know you've been here. What I love most about this is 95% our clients, okay? And I'm just going to say this to the people in our 2 challenges, of which there's nearly 50 of you. Look at what it's like to be a client. You guys are missing. And this is the reason why you're not going to get results. If you do not show up for yourself, you can't expect to change. Nonetheless, let's get started in this episode of Rise. Okay, guys, so thanks for coming in here. What I want to do today is really get started on our Monday with something that I think is really, really important. This is the last week of our 28-day challenge, and for our clients, the last week of Mad for May. This has been a 4-week push, hasn't it? And so a lot of you have kind of been really, really consistent. And I think this is so important. We're going to touch on one of the reasons that this is important. So I wanted to start today with a session that I think hits. It's a simple idea. And we're going to talk about confidence and the role of your word, the language that flows from your mouth. I read a quote. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. I mean, what a beautiful quote that is. You live and die by your word. But let's go back to the top of the show. Who here would like more self-confidence and more self-belief? Okay, get into the comments and let me know yes. Despite the fact that you might already be confident, you already might be self-believing, who would like an increase in their current level of confidence and self-belief? I think every single person here would say yes. We recently did an episode on the importance of self-belief and how it's only if you go all in on yourself that you're going to see the potential of your life. Belief isn't something that you can touch, is it? You can't touch belief. It's a feeling of certainty about something. Self-belief is when that feeling of certainty is about yourself. When you wade outside of your comfort zone if you were stripped of all your possessions and your money and your qualifications, how strong is the identity that is left over without all the things on the outside? Self-belief is more of an internal compass, whereas confidence is the external portrayal that is built as a result of your achievements, your qualifications, your overcoming of obstacles. So you can see how there's a difference there between self-belief, which is stripped of everything. What's your identity? Confidence being the collection of power that comes with having done hard things. And so we might ask ourselves, why is it that confidence and self-belief are actually important? Well, if we go back to all of these Rise sessions, we've tried to tie these in with the goal of feeling more freedom and more happiness and transforming ourselves in 3 areas: health, wealth, and happiness. In short, if you believe strongly in your own mental and physical capacity and your ability to overcome challenges has given you the confidence, then the likelihood of your future being better than the present is increased. Let's give some real life examples. If you never walked into a gym in your entire life, but you had a great sense of self-belief, you're less likely to walk back out because it's intimidating, right? If you'd never run a marathon, but you'd had a strong sense of your own capabilities and your confidence in doing hard things, you're more likely to complete one, right? And so that's how I feel, for example. I've never gotten close to running a marathon, but I have a strong sense of self and what I am capable of, especially when I get outside of my comfort zone. This gives me confidence that I can complete one. If you were in a bad relationship, but you had a high level of self-belief, you would not remain in that relationship just because it was familiar. The same could be said with you continuing in a job that no longer serves you. This wasn't always the case for me. I didn't always have that self-belief that I deserved something better. Hence, I stayed in the job that was no longer serving me. So it works in both ways. In your fitness transformation, when you have a high sense of self-belief and confidence that has been earned over time, when you hit fat loss plateaus or injuries, as nearly every person does, you will not abandon ship on your goal just because you've hit a bit of a tough time, because you're playing the long game. When you have a powerful inside, it translates to a powerful outside. Would you agree? Your ability to influence and lead others increases. The likelihood of you getting promotions or running a successful business skyrockets because you feel good about yourself and that projects out. You'll have less social anxiety. The list goes on. Now, in the very first episode of Rise that we did at the start of this month, we talked about the power of language in shaping your attitude. Now that we've talked about confidence and self-belief and language separately, let's link the two. Your words are the building blocks of your existence and they reflect your integrity. I'm going to say that again, guys. This is the time to listen up. Now that we've got the frame, listen up. This is going to hit a few of you. Your words are the building blocks of your existence. They reflect your integrity. The key word here that you've got to think about is trust. When you do what you say you're going to do, you build trust with yourself and with others. Let me ask you a few questions to try to illustrate this point, okay? It's very important that you listen in intently, guys, and answer these questions. When your partner says, "I'll be home by a certain time," do you believe them? Don't read into it any more than answering that question. When your partner says, "I'll be home by a certain time," do you believe them? I can see Kenny and Cole looking at each other. Do you believe them? Or has their past behavior demonstrated that they don't really follow through on their word? So that's the first question. Next question. Do you have a friend that is always late? They tell you 5:30, but that actually means 6 o'clock. Does that frustrate you? Answer these questions, guys. You don't have to do it in the comments, just answer the questions. Do you have a general hatred for politicians? a general hatred for politicians, is that caused by you perceiving that they carelessly break your trust without any consequence? When people break trust by not following through on their word, it causes you to lack confidence in them, right? Now let's turn it inwards. We're often very condemning of other people. And then when we look in the mirror, we let ourselves off the hook. We miss the sins. How often has it become a habit that you'd said you're going to go to the gym tomorrow and not followed through? Or that you'd hit your 10,000 steps, but then you made excuses. Or that you'd start checking in, but you haven't done it. I think most of us, what we do is we're just blind to the significance of this. These little micro trust breaks. We rationalize it as this. Missing my check-in doesn't actually matter that much. And the truth is that one isolated behavior doesn't matter that much. It doesn't actually matter that much. But most of us have this historical string of broken promises to ourselves. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And I bet that if you have a real think about your habits, if you're someone that has broken a fair bit of trust with yourself before, you'll see those micro trust breaks everywhere in your life, not just in your fitness. They're happening everywhere in your relationships, in your career, in your job, in your wealth building, in your parenting. And this is the reason that your self-belief has been eroded. Guys, this is so important that you get this basic idea. It seems insignificant. It does. In the moment, it seems insignificant. You just, I'll go to the gym tomorrow. Blah. That's it. But each time you do that, you compound the problem. Every word that comes out of your mouth either weakens or strengthens your confidence and self-belief. Imagine you had a running tally, and one was when you said you were going to do it. The other column is when you said you didn't do it, and you just had a tick list. Your confidence is built with every single tick that you put in that box and show up for yourself. You might be fantastic. And I see this with a lot of women. And of course, this isn't targeted sexually, but I'm making a point here because of the nature of the emotional female, the mother in her. You're great at keeping your word to everyone else because you like to please people. But you wonder why your confidence and self-belief is so low. It's because you're pleasing everyone else and saying yes to everything and everyone, but disrespecting yourself. If that hits, just feel it, okay? You're saying yes to everyone else, but you're disrespecting yourself, mostly because there's nothing left in your cup. You need to get to a point where if you say that you're going to do your 10,000 steps or go to the gym, that is as important as picking up your kid from school or visiting the sick friend in the hospital. It might not seem it, but in terms of your word, it has to be as strong to other people as it is to yourself. When you negotiate with yourself, you just breed distrust with yourself in the same way that if your partner continued to break your trust, you'd probably eventually leave them because you couldn't handle it anymore. I think a lot of people are walking out on themselves. Here's a great way to think about it as we bring this episode to a close. Think of your life like constructing a house. Self-belief is the framework, the internal framework that gives the house the structure. And that's built on a good set of core values that you're in alignment with. The brickwork that's being laid in this house represents the words that you spit and then the following up actions that you do. So you spit the words, you say, I'm going to do this thing, and then you lay the brick. You say, I'm going to do this thing, and you lay the brick. You say, I'm going to do this thing, and you lay the brick. And the final outcome when you look at your beautiful house with a solid foundation and lovely brickwork is a structure that is strong even when the outside elements are cold, windy, and horrible. Because guess what? Life's not going to be perfect. The externals are always going to be blowing. You're going to be facing struggles all of the time. This is the polarity of life. That's not going to go away. But if your internal self-belief is great and you've done the work and you've followed through on your word, this creates confidence and your house stands tall while the others are blowing over. Confident people have earned the right to feel that way through years and years and years of following through on their word. Confident people still have struggles. They still have demons. I still have lack of self-belief at times to time, multiple times throughout the day. But they rely on their word to create certainty. And so finishing off this episode, guys, just some very simple tips for building strength in your word. I would suggest a great activity this week. And I would challenge anyone who's in Better Body Academy, who's listening to this, to literally think about this for 5 or 10 minutes and then just put a simple post on the wall of the group. What are your core values? If you were to have an emblem on your wall when someone walked into your office at home or your family at home, I'm not talking about the family's core values. What are your core values? If you understand what's important to you, well, then it becomes easier to set your tasks and priorities because you now have a filter of which opportunities to say yes and to say no to. So, for example, if loyalty is your highest core value, well, then you're going to say yes to your friends when they need help because that's important to you and helps keep you in alignment. Does this make sense? If health is not a core value to you, well, then the reason you're struggling to make changes is because you're prioritizing the things that are of higher core value to you. So I think a really, really good exercise is just to spend 5 to 10 minutes just thinking just what do I actually stand for? What are my top 3 to 5 core values? For me, it's absolutely health, family, love. Those 3 things, if I act in alignment with those 3 things, my world just happens for me. Point 2, do not agree if you don't wholly intend to follow through. So what do I mean by this? If your partner says, hey babe, you want to do this on this weekend? I'm really hesitant to not overcommit to my partner because I know that if I've committed and I've said I'm going to do something, my intention is to follow through. So I would rather hedge almost and not commit and not build the distrust with both my partner and myself in the first place. And the final point is if you do commit to it, then commit to it wholly. Don't negotiate with yourself. Don't start backing out and rationalizing why it's unimportant, because if you've got a strong set of core values and you committed to it in the first place, then it must be important. Otherwise, you wouldn't have committed. Does this make sense? Guys, the power of your word, this changes the game because it gets you to think, hey, okay, if I value my word like my money, instead, just don't rush into things. Don't rush into decisions. If I'm going to do this, this marathon, for example, that I've committed to, it's taken me a long time to run that through my filter of, do I want to commit to this? Because once I'm committed, I'm all into it. And it's not acceptable for me to deviate from the plan that I've set myself. If you have that level of, you don't give out your words cheaply, you get seen as a person who can be trusted. And not only is that great for your relationships, but incredibly good for your own self-confidence and belief. And guys, we're going to leave it on that note. I hope this has been helpful. We've got 4 more episodes of the Rise podcasts before we go back to our normal scheduling at the start of next week. Again, I hope these episodes have been helpful. If you've got any questions, please shoot them through to the success team inside Better Body Academy. And I appreciate you guys. Let's get stuck into another big week. Ciao.